The female reproductive system is a remarkable and intricate network designed for creating and nurturing life. Its main internal organs work together in a beautifully coordinated cycle. These key players are the ovaries, the uterine tubes, also known as fallopian tubes, the uterus, and the vagina. Each part has a very specific and crucial job to do. Understanding how these organs function is the first step in appreciating the complexities of female health and reproduction. We will explore each of these components to see how they contribute to the overall process, starting with where it all begins. The ovaries. The ovaries are two small oval-shaped glands located on each side of the uterus. They are roughly the size and shape of a large almond. These glands are situated deep within the pelvic cavity, held in place by ligaments that connect them to the uterus and the pelvic wall. The ovaries serve two primary and vital functions in the body. First, they are the storage houses for all the eggs, or oocytes, that a woman will ever have. A female is born with her lifetime supply of these tiny cells, a fact that makes the ovaries incredibly important from birth. Beyond storing eggs, the ovaries are also major hormone producers. They are a critical part of the endocrine system, manufacturing the primary female sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone. These hormones are chemical messengers that regulate the entire menstrual cycle. They control the growth and release of eggs, prepare the uterus for a potential pregnancy, and influence many other aspects of a woman's health. The fluctuating levels of estrogen and progesterone are what drive the monthly changes that the female body experiences, making the ovaries the command center for the reproductive cycle. Adjacent to the ovaries are the uterine tubes, which are often called the fallopian tubes. There are two of these slender, muscular tubes, one extending from near each ovary towards the uterus. They are not directly attached to the ovaries but have feathery, finger-like projections called fimbria at their ends. These fimbria are perfectly positioned to catch an egg after it is released from the ovary. The uterine tubes act as a pathway, a special corridor that connects the ovaries to the uterus, playing a vital role in the journey of the egg. About once every month, a process called ovulation occurs. This is when one of the ovaries releases a mature egg, known as an oocyte. This event is triggered by a surge of hormones that signals to the ovary that the time is right. The released egg is then gently swept up by the fimbriae at the entrance of the nearest uterine tube. The journey of the egg begins as it enters this narrow passageway. Inside the uterine tube, tiny hair-like structures called cilia line the walls, and their gentle, wave-like motions help to guide the egg along its path toward the uterus, a trip that takes several days. The uterine tube is most often the site where fertilization takes place. If sexual intercourse has occurred around the time of ovulation, sperm will travel from the vagina, through the uterus, and into the uterine tubes to meet the egg. Fertilization happens when a single sperm successfully penetrates the outer layer of the egg. This fusion of the egg and sperm creates a new single cell called a zygote. This new cell contains the complete set of genetic material, half from the mother and half from the father, marking the very beginning of a new human life. Once fertilization has occurred, the zygote starts to divide rapidly. It becomes 2 cells, then 4, then 8, and so on, all while it continues its slow journey down the uterine tube. This growing ball of cells is now called an embryo. The journey is not passive. The uterine tube continues to nourish the developing embryo and propel it forward with gentle muscular contractions. This trip is carefully timed, ensuring the embryo arrives at the uterus at just the right stage of development, ready for the next critical step in establishing a pregnancy. If the egg is not fertilized within about 12 to 24 hours after ovulation, it will begin to degrade. The unfertilized egg will continue its journey through the uterine tube and into the uterus, but it will not be able to implant in the uterine wall. Instead, it will simply disintegrate and be shed from the body along with the uterine lining during the next menstrual period. This monthly cycle ensures that the body is always prepared for a potential pregnancy, but also has a mechanism to reset if fertilization does not happen, starting the process all over again. The uterus is a hollow, pear-shaped organ located in the center of the pelvis, between the bladder and the rectum. It is incredibly muscular and has the amazing ability to expand to many times its original size to accommodate a growing baby during pregnancy. The main, upper part of the uterus is called the body, or corpus, and the rounded top is known as the fundus. It is within the body of the uterus that a fertilized egg, now an embryo, will attach itself to the wall in a process called implantation. This is where the fetus will develop for the next 9 months. The wall of the uterus is made up of 3 distinct layers. The outer layer is a thin membrane called the perimetrium. The middle layer, the myometrium, is the thickest and is composed of strong muscle tissue. These are the muscles that contract powerfully during labor to help push the baby out during childbirth. The innermost layer is the endometrium. This lining is rich in blood vessels and glands, and it is this layer that responds dramatically to the hormonal changes of the menstrual cycle, preparing a lush, nourishing bed for an embryo each month. If a fertilized egg successfully implants into the endometrium, the uterus becomes a nurturing home for the developing fetus. The blood vessels in the endometrium help to form the placenta, a temporary organ that provides the baby with oxygen and nutrients from the mother's blood and removes waste products. The uterus provides a safe, protected, and stable environment, allowing the fetus to grow and develop until it is ready for birth. The strength and adaptability of the uterus are truly central to the miracle of human reproduction and development. However, if fertilization does not occur, the egg does not implant. Without the hormonal signals from an implanted embryo, the levels of estrogen and progesterone in the body decline. This drop in hormones signals the endometrium that it is not needed for a pregnancy this month. The uterine lining then begins to break down and is shed from the body. This shedding of blood and tissue from the uterus is what we know as menstruation, or a period. This process marks the end of one menstrual cycle and the beginning of the next, a monthly renewal. At the lower, narrow end of the uterus is the cervix. The cervix is a small, cylindrical structure that acts as a gateway, connecting the main body of the uterus to the vagina. Think of it as a small, muscular neck at the bottom of the uterus. It has a tiny opening called the os, which allows for the passage of menstrual blood out of the uterus and for sperm to enter the uterus from the vagina. The cervix plays a crucial role in both menstruation and reproduction by controlling what passes between these 2 important organs. The cervix is not just a simple opening. Its function changes throughout the menstrual cycle and during pregnancy. For most of the month, the cervix produces a thick mucus that creates a plug, making it more difficult for sperm or bacteria to enter the uterus. Around the time of ovulation, however, this mucus becomes thinner, clearer, and more watery. This change, driven by hormones, makes it much easier for sperm to swim through the cervix and into the uterus to potentially fertilize an egg. The cervix is a dynamic gatekeeper. During pregnancy, the cervix remains tightly closed and firm, protected by its mucus plug to keep the developing baby safe inside the uterus. As labor approaches, the cervix undergoes remarkable changes. It begins to soften, thin out, a process called effacement, and open up, which is called dilation. These changes allow the baby to pass from the uterus through the cervix and into the birth canal. The ability of the cervix to transform from a firm barrier to a wide-open passage is essential for a safe delivery. The vagina is a muscular tube that extends from the cervix down to the outside of the body. It is a very flexible and elastic passageway that serves several important functions. The vagina is where sperm is deposited during sexual intercourse, beginning its journey toward the egg. It also serves as the channel for menstrual fluid to exit the body. Finally, during childbirth, the vagina becomes the birth canal, stretching significantly to allow the baby to pass from the uterus to the outside world, completing the incredible journey of reproduction.